I, Chair Heather Miller, call the virtual electrical and elevator board meeting of January 28th, 2021 to order at 9:30 a.m. Debbie, will you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Chair Heather Miller?
Here.
Vice Chair Thomas Kyle?
Here.
BJ Barlow?
Present.
Amy Byer?
Here.
Elizabeth Bunga is excused. Randy Carmody?
Here.
John Flagel?
Here.
Scott Hall?
Here.
Robert McNeil?
Here.
Vernon Pomerose?
Here.
Brian Richards?
Here.
Andy Smith?
Here.
Madam Chair, we do have a quorum.
Thank you, Debbie. We have an amended agenda and order of business in front of us. I think we just got the last amendment pretty recently. Do any members have any changes to the amended agenda or order of business? Then I, Chair Miller, rule the amended agenda and order of business approved. You also, in the same packet, received the minutes of the November 19th meeting. I, Chair Miller, rule the draft meeting minutes of November 19th, 2020 final. The next meeting is scheduled for March 25th, 2021, and that information is on the Building Codes website too, in case you need to go back and take a look. Now we have somebody who's graduating out of their term on this board. And all I have to do is find. Got it. So today we're saying farewell to James Totten. The previous meeting was his last meeting. He is, of course, is he on here? I don't even see. He, of course, is welcome to stay and listen to us talk, but Mr. Totten has well over 30 years of experience in high-rise facilities maintenance and operations. He's been a building engineer, a chief building engineer, property manager, and engineering manager for a national building owner, and was a facilities project manager at PGE. Mr. Totten is licensed as a real estate broker, and he currently has a limited maintenance electrician license. He's served on a number of code committees for BOMA and was chair of BOMA's Codes and Operating Committee. Mr. Totten was Mr. Totten was appointed and confirmed to the position of owner or manager of commercial office buildings for the Electrical and Elevator Board June 2013 and has continued to serve since then. Mr. Totten has been a great asset to the board and he will be greatly missed. And if you're here, I thank you for your service, but I don't see him on this call unless he's an unnamed caller down at the bottom.
He must be having issues connecting, Madam Chair. He did say he was going to say goodbye to his fellow board members.
Okay.
I don't see him connected.
Okay. Well, we'll let him pop in wherever he can if he's still able to connect at a later point. And he can always come as a member of the public to any of the meetings subsequent to this one. So we're moving on to agenda item 2, public comment, and Tyler Glaze has the list of people who have signed up for public comment today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board, my name is Tyler Glaze, policy analyst for the division. I believe we only had one item of public comment. It's at the request of Michael. I apologize if I mispronounced your last name, Kreitz, and the written testimony is attached. Madam Chair, would you like to allow 5 minutes for testimony?
Yeah, Michael, if you feel like you need 5 minutes, I know we just got your amended letter either late yesterday or early this morning, so.
No, I'm good. Thank you, Madam Chair. 5 minutes should be enough time.
Okay. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Heather Miller and members of the board. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address the board regarding my testing results for a journeyman electrical license. My name is Michael Kreitz, and I have worked as an electrician from 1981 to 2017. I relocated to the Pacific Northwest to expand my career to work as an electrician. I dropped out of college because I quickly realized I'm not a book learner. I'm a hands-on learner, and I received a lot of electrical experience by hands-on learning. And then I received my formal schooling from the IBEW 428 out of Bakersfield, California in the early 1990s. It is customary for electrical contractors to employ reliable, experienced workers, especially those that can bring big projects. I have the experience and knowledge of the electrical trade, and through many years of hard work and gained the confidence and respect of several reputable contractors. I had the opportunity to work and run several of their large projects. I have worked and ran residential and commercial projects on the private sector. For the city and state, I have ran schools, libraries, street lighting, and fire stations. I then received the opportunity to work for the federal government as a civilian employee under the Department of Defense. I gained my military clearance to enter any American military base, where I did complete gut-out remodels of barracks and hotels for the officer accommodations on federal Navy property. As you may know, the Navy doesn't hire just anyone. You must know what you're doing. Like I said earlier, electrical contractors want people to run their big projects that have the experience and knowledge of electrical trade. Throughout my life, I've never been a person that scored well on tests and feel lucky to pass any test. I have struggled taking the test for the IBEW in 1990s, but I did pass. What helped me pass the IBEW test was I took a lot of notes during class. Then the next day, I had some great journeymen who took the time to explain the hands-on application to what I learned. That simple layman explanation and demonstrations for hands-on approach is what got me to learn far better and far more than what I could have learned from books. Since April 2017, I have taken the Oregon State Journeyman Electrical Exam 16 times with no success of getting a passing grade. I've been tutored, bought expensive prep material, and spent hours of studying. With the Oregon Electrical License Exam, I have compiled my data, and if the test asks 2 questions, I get 1 question wrong. In the following categories: rule and law, I got 100% 6 times. Safety, I got 100% 5 times. Raceways, I got 100% 2 times. Commercial and industrial, I got 100% 5 times. Systems, I got 100% 5 times. Categories that ask 3 questions and 1 question, and if 1 question is wrong, I would fail the category. And the grounding, I got 100% 3 times. Motors, I got 100% 2 times. Residential, I got 100% 2 times. And then 10 times, I just missed 1 question. Service, I got 100% 8 times. Testing categories that ask 4 questions. If 1 question is wrong, I get 75% grade. Branch and circuits, I got 100% 4 times. 75%, I got 8 times, resulting with 12 times the passing score. Conductors, I got 10 times, 100% 1 time. 75%, 8 times, resulting with 9 times the passing score. General knowledge, I got 100% 6 times. 75%, 7 times, resulting with 13 times the passing score. General calculations, I got 75% 5 times, resulting with 5 times the passing score. Utilization, I got 100% 4 times, 75% 7 times, resulting with 11 times the passing score. Math theory, I got 100% 3 times, 75% 8 times, resulting with 11 times the passing score. In the last category, the test asks 6 questions. 1 question is wrong, I get 83%. And that's special subjects. I got 100% 1 time, 83% 3 times, which results in a 4 times a passing score. I missed 2 questions out of the 6 on special subjects 10 times. With the data from all of the 16 times I took the test and the passing score I accumulated at 75 or better, I passed 104 times out of the 16 different categories on 16 tests. Like I said, tests are very difficult for me. I get nervous, I get brain blocks, I sweat, I just cannot think. Maybe it's anxiety, I don't know. What I do know, I'm not good at taking tests. At this point in my life, I don't want the stress of running big projects. All I would like to do is get my license and work for a reputable company. I am an asset to anyone running these projects, as I have done in the past, and I know what it takes. What I am asking the board is to issue me an ordinance journeyman's electrical license. I have continued to prove my knowledge in each of the 16 different categories by passing each of the categories 104 times. I just want to get back to what I love doing, and test is blocking my ability to perform. Thank you for the opportunity to testify before you. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kreitz. It is Mr. Kreitz?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so on your more recent submission for this meeting, on the last page, you included the applicant for the accommodation that would allow you extra time on the test. Have you pursued that route on any of these tests you've taken?
Yes, as you know, I got into doing this on last Tuesday, and I've called my doctor to schedule an appointment, and I have not been able to see him yet.
Okay, because I did know about this accommodation that can be made, and the state is very forgiving. The state will make these accommodations for people who need it. So I think that is the best path for you. Also, the program chief for the electrical, Keith Anderson, said that you could reach out to him and he can let you know what resources that you are allowed to bring into the test with you, and maybe with the extra time and the and some resources that you didn't know you were allowed to bring, that can help you, because my heart certainly goes out to you. But in the time that I've been on this board, which just found out is 8 years, we haven't made exceptions to the rules, because it would be opening a gate to, why did we allow this person to not meet the requirements when we made this person meet the requirements? And while nothing is perfect, this is the metric that is set by the state.
Okay.
So, does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Kreitz? And I don't believe, Tyler, this is a motion. There's no action required by us on this, is there?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. I really good luck to you, Mr. Kreitz, on the future test. And Keith said that he can assist you with some information.
Chair Heather Miller, what was the name of the person I should get a hold of?
Keith Anderson. I think he's on this call. You're on the call, right, Keith?
I am. Yeah, the number is available on the website, or you can send me an email. It's William Anderson is what the email is, william.k.anderson@oregon.gov. And yeah, I'd be happy to give you some pointers and help you get through this.
Okay, and then I will reach out to you later. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yes. Okay, moving on to agenda item 3A, reports. Sarah Blum-Linville, the contested case representative for Enforcement Services.
Good
Through the chair, good morning, Chair Miller, members of the board. For the record, I'm Sarah Blum-Linville, contested case representative for the division. Before the board is a summary of consent orders recently negotiated by the division on the board's behalf. We've entered into 4 cases since our last board meeting. All of the settlements, including the amounts owed and suspended, civil penalties fall within the guidelines on the penalty matrix, and they contain standard conditions. Board action is required on these cases. All of these cases are fairly similar. I want to point out that case Belagi and George and Brian Kent George are related cases. One is the business and one is the individual violations. And then on Jeff Iacovino, doing business as Jeff Iacovino Construction, that one is a slightly lower amount than we normally settle for because he paid the homeowner back over $5,000 out of his own pocket when this case was initially going through the CCC, and that wasn't per an order, that was voluntarily, so we took that into account when making our consent order. And I'm available if the board has any other questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Sarah?
I'll make a motion to incorporate the board's decisions, the recommendations of the committee.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the cases before us.
I'll second that.
Okay, and I think on this one, Debbie takes a roll for the vote.
Yes, ma'am. BJ Barlow,
Agreed.
Amy Byer,
Aye.
Randy Carmody,
Aye.
John Flagel,
Aye.
Scott Hall,
Aye.
Robert McNeil,
Aye.
Vernon Pomerose,
Aye.
Brian Richards,
Aye.
Randy Smith,
Aye.
Vice Chair Thomas Kyle,
Aye.
Chair Heather Miller.
Aye.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We move on to agenda item B, with Sarah Blum-Linville, the summary of the 5 cases.
Through the chair, thank you, Chair Miller. For the record again, Sarah Blum-Linville. Before the board are 5 default orders. No action is required by the board. I am available if you have questions. Just want to point out the one that looks slightly unusual, the Mark Robert Gore that had $24,000 worth of penalties. It looks like there were several locations there with both board violations, so plumbing and electrical. And there were some allegations that ended up involving the Department of Human Services, Aging and People with Disabilities, and Adult Protective Services because there were seniors involved. And so I think that's why this one was a little bit more expanded than the usual cases. And it looks like about 12,000 of this is going to the electrical board. And if you have any other questions, please let me know.
Any questions for Sarah? No board action is required, so that's just informational. And agenda item 3C, the elevator program update with Mr. Warren Hartung.
Madam Chair, members of the board, good morning. For the record, Warren Hartung, Chief Elevator Inspector for Statewide Services. In your packet, you have the November and December inspection charts, along with the minimalistic accident reports. Nothing unusual to report, but I stand ready to answer any questions the board may have. Hearing none, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Warren. I think the graphs are looking pretty good. That's a lot of blue, a lot more blue than red than when for a long time sitting on this board.
That is true. We've worked really hard to get the overdues down. There's still some areas that need attention, but we're addressing those.
Yeah. Well, thank everybody. It looks good. Now we're moving on to agenda item 3D, the electrical program update with Keith Anderson, the electrical program chief.
Good morning, Keith Anderson, electrical program chief. So what the code is online ready to come online April 1. We're still headed for that. The public hearing went through, and tomorrow is the last day that people can submit information for that. So it's going to be known as the 2021 Oregon Electrical Specialty Code, and it's based on the 2020 NEC. And the Oregon Electrical Specialty Code includes, the NEC and then all the amendments and everything that the committees did. So it's still set to become effective April 1, and there's no grace period with the electrical code. So the only grace period that would be is if someone submitted plans prior to April 1, then they would be able to choose one code or the other. But as of April 1, anything that's submitted after that would be the regulating code. So anyway, just wanted to update everybody on that, and that's all I have for today.
Thanks, Keith. Does anybody have any questions for Keith? All right, we got no communications, no appeals, so we're moving on to agenda item 6, and Tyler Glaze is going to give us an update on the City of Harrisburg's request to take over their inspection program.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Again, my name is Tyler Glaze, policy analyst for the division. As you may recall, this was an item that came before us in our last meeting, but by way of background, I'll go over some of the background details. Lynn County currently operates a building inspection program, which includes service to the City of Harrisburg. However, on September 30th of last year, the division received notice from the city of its intent to assume a comprehensive building inspection program. On October 15th, 2020, the division provided notice to all persons on the division's interested parties list about the request to assume a program. And we received no comments on that application up until this date as well. But the cutoff time was November 14th. In any case, the board was presented with the City of Harrisburg's application for the assumption of a building inspection program on the board's last meeting, November 19th of 2020. And the board provided some feedback. The City of Harrisburg reconfirmed its intent to proceed with the assumption process on December 8th. The division sent a list of questions, including questions from some of you board members, to the City of Harrisburg. The city responded on December 23rd of 2020 and has clarified some of its information over the intervening time. So what the division is requesting now is some comments and a motion from the board recommending the division approve or deny the City of Harrisburg's application to administer a comprehensive program. So sort of an up-down yes or no. Should we approve? Should we not approve? There are some criteria on what an appropriate application should contain. and there are some options for the board down below. And their materials are, if you notice my letter as agenda item 6, the application materials are submitted below that, as well as the answers to some of our questions. The materials are available there. So if you have any questions, I will do my best to answer them. Otherwise, I believe we have several individuals from the City of Harrisburg here to speak on that matter. Madam Chair, whenever you're ready for those.
I think if the City of Harrisburg wants to speak, we can move forward with that. And if people have questions for them or for Tyler, then you can do it through the chair.
I believe first up we have Michelle Eldridge, the Assistant City Administrator for the City of Harrisburg.
This is John Hitt, City Administrator for Harrisburg. Michelle was not able to make it today.
I understand. Mr. Hitt, you are also registered to speak if you would like to.
Yes, I would like to, and I'll make it very brief. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, for entertaining our application, as well as giving me a few minutes to speak. Let me just say, this is a complex process, and I understand that's the way the OARs and the ORSs are written. I didn't realize it was as complex as it was when I started it, but I kind of once I got my teeth into it, I didn't want to let go. So I also want to thank Tyler and a couple of other staff members. I'm sorry? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think that was just a little bit of feedback on
okay. I also want to thank Tyler and a couple of other members there of your staff for helping put this all together. But I would say, too, that if the board wishes additional changes or amendments to our program operating plan, we're certainly happy to entertain those, and we understand that there may be likely more fine-tuning or maybe even major tuning left before we begin, or shortly after we begin, if you approve it, in July. And then let me add too, we did one of the questions that was out there, and I think this is a really important question that you all asked, is how we were going to get input from the building folks. And so we mailed an invitation to all of our known contractors in this area, all the contractors that we are aware of through building permits that have been issued here over many years, that have operated in the City of Harrisburg, informing them of our plan, letting them know where our plan was available on our website, or they could come in the City Hall and get a paper copy, and inviting any questions, any concerns, any suggestions. And then we advertise that, as well as putting that, giving written notification. And we only got one response from one contractor who was actually strongly in favor of us going ahead with this program. We did not receive any other or any negative comments or other questions or issues that were raised. So I'm hopeful you will approve, give an approve vote on this. And we do commit to working very closely and very faithfully with the board and with the staff to make sure that we do a good job in starting up this program.
Thank you, Mr.
Any questions? Happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you. And I think that the questions I had were answered in your responses that are included in our packet for me. So I don't know if any of the other members have any questions for Mr. Hitt. Well, as I learned in just a few meetings ago, I know that I can make a motion to recommend the division approve the City of Harrisburg's application for delegation of an electrical program because the city's application meets the minimum standards adopted by The Electrical and Elevator Board by rule for inspections, permit applications, and other matters to ensure adequate administration and enforcement.
I'll second that.
So, Debbie, can you call a vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. BJ Barlow,
Aye.
Amy Byer,
Aye.
Randy Carmody,
Aye.
John Flagel,
Aye.
Scott Hall,
Aye.
Robert McNeil,
Aye.
Brennan Pomerose,
Aye.
Brian Richards,
Aye.
Randy Smith,
Aye.
Vice Chair Thomas Kyle,
Aye.
Chair Heather Miller.
Aye.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Debbie. Now we're moving on to agenda item 7A, new business. Policy analyst Tyler Glaze, back to introduce registered speaker.
Madam Chair, again, my name is Tyler Glaze, policy analyst for the division. We received a request to speak on an issue by Mr. Jeff Graham. His request is included in the board packet as agenda item 7A. I believe it's page 130 of your PDF. And Mr. Graham, if you'd like to speak, if you're connected. Madam Chair, it's up to you how long you would like to allow him to speak. In any case, there is a motion that is required on this item.
Okay. Jeff, Mr. Graham, you can have the 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Am I on?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you for the board, your commitment to public safety and public service. It's certainly appreciated. I represent a small church in Salem, the Salem Friends Meeting. We have a building that was built in 1903, well before accommodations for disabled was an issue. We acquired the building far after that, but that's what we have. And I should add that accommodating the disabled is very important to our group, and we are committed to that. We installed a lift, a platform lift, a few years back, and we're surprised to learn after it was installed that 2 servicing visits were required per year. And the usage we have of that elevator is about maybe 12 per year. So once a month, it's not used very much at all. And so clearly the servicing requirement seemed excessive to us. And examining the code that I understand applies to this situation, ASME 18.1, I saw that private residents with the exact same lift would only require 1 servicing per year. And I would guess that they were using their lift far more than we are, maybe twice a day, I would guess, but we use it maybe once a month. So it just doesn't seem logical. I contacted the elevator program and asked about that, and they were very communicative to me. I was appreciative of that. They told me that a simple exception for us was not possible. And the reasoning was that they could not determine the usage of our lift. They could not, because we claimed it wasn't used much, that was not good enough. And they also needed something that would apply to statewide. They have statewide concerns, and that's understandable. Well, in talking with our licensed elevator contractor, who's an honorable man, and he said to us that he observes that some platform lifts receive a lot of usage, and he said some of them receive very little usage, and he could determine that. And he also said that of the churches specifically that he services, perhaps 50% show very light usage. So it occurred to me that maybe we were not alone in feeling burdened by twice a year servicing when we use the lift so little. And I approached the elevator program about is it possible to get an Oregon-specific code amendment to change that? And in my specific request, our request was for property tax exempt religious buildings that are small, under 5,000 square feet, to allow the elevator contractor to evaluate the usage and then determine if annual servicing is sufficient. So we would not be determined, it'd be the contractor who is the arms and hands and eyes of the board to determine if it's a reasonable request. I would also add that we've talked to at least one other small church who feels in the same boat we are, that they have an elevator, they're committed to using it, but they feel that twice a year servicing is a burden to them. It's difficult to contact others, so I don't know how widespread, but I suspect, as our contractor said, this is not unique to us. And I'd also add that small churches like ours tend to be similar to private residences in that we can readily control access. We're not a large church that has an office that's open every day. It's locked almost always unless this building is specifically being used for unauthorized use. And we also, of course, have insurance liability. So that is our request to only seek one servicing visit a year and have that limited to tax-exempt religious properties of a small stature. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. I would note that Chief Hartung is available to answer questions on this as well. And being that I am not an elevator mechanic, I am curious how much difference it makes with the usage. This question is for you, Chief Hartung. How much difference it makes for whether something is used once a month or 12 times a month. In how I look at it, if I was going to ride an elevator, I don't know that it would matter to me how often it was being used. I understand the idea of wear and tear, but can you elaborate a little bit on that, Chief Hartung?
I'd be happy to, Madam Chair. For the record, Warren Hartung, Chief Elevator Inspector, Statewide Services. I have talked with Mr. Graham. I understand his position and his concern. My concern is always first and foremost safety, and everything's fine until somebody gets hurt. And so I tend to lean on the side of protecting people from getting hurt. The practical applications of Mr. Graham's request are he cannot, or can anyone actually foresee the future and predict what the future use of this or any facility will be. So there's no way to gauge that from a regulatory standpoint. And although he may speak for one or two churches, he doesn't speak for all the organizations he's asking for reclassification on. Code-wise, the code specifically states that routine inspections and tests will be conducted at intervals no longer than 6 months. From our own rules, 918-400-0760, exceptions from code requirements, subsection 3 specifically states, financial hardship alone shall not support an exception. So I am bound by code and I am bound by rule.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Chief Hartung or Mr. Graham?
Through the chair, I do. I'm curious, are we servicing the elevator every 6 months, or is it an inspection from the state? And if it's an inspection from the state, is there cost involved with that? Because I assume that there's cost with the servicing.
This is strictly servicing. The state inspections are tied into the operating permits and would not impact the cost of the facility. So it's service and safety inspections by the vendor contracting to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, if there's no further questions, I would like to make a motion to disapprove the maintenance servicing wheelchair lifts from semi-annual to annual in buildings under 5,000 square feet. I know I've worked in a lot of smaller buildings that get excessive use, and I've worked in a lot of large buildings that get minimal use. A random square footage doesn't seem to me like an appropriate measure, as well as the safety aspect. Public safety has definitely got to be the top of the list.
I second.
Debbie, can you take a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. BJ Barlow,
Aye.
Amy Byer,
Aye.
Randy Carmody,
Aye.
John Flagel,
Aye.
Scott Hall,
Aye.
Robert McNeil,
Aye.
Vernon Pomerose,
Aye.
Brian Richards,
Aye.
Randy Smith,
Aye.
Vice Chair Thomas Kyle,
Aye.
Madam Chair Heather Miller.
Aye.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 7B. Policy analyst Tyler Glaze is going to introduce the next speaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Tyler Glaze, policy analyst for the division. The division received another item that was placed on the agenda from Mr. Scot Leonard. The agenda item is 7B. It's page number 131 of the PDF of the board packet. And I believe Mr. Leonard is connected to speak. And Madam Chair, it's up to you how long you would like that to be. And this will require a motion which we can work on shortly after Mr. Leonard speaks.
Mr. Leonard, you get the 5 minutes everybody else got. And you can, there you go.
Hello, can you hear me? Hi, my name is Scot Leonard. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, and thank you for your time. I am an electrical contractor here in LeGrand, Oregon, and I've been a journeyman electrician for 21 years. So I made the mistake of, through a busy schedule, not checking my license. I did do my continuing ed, and I sent a check, showed proof of the check being sent from bank statements and check registries and anything I could find that shows a skip check, one that was never cleared. I own an electrical business here. I employ about 10 people. And during the time, I was unaware, I guess, that I needed to contact the board directly and give them a change of address. So I didn't receive the notice that, you know, my license had expired. The bad thing is I spent a lot of time with my crew and made sure everybody had their continuing ed done and all the checks were sent in and everything was taken care of. And after I did that, I assumed it was taken care of. And unfortunately, I don't pull my license out of my pocket a lot. We live in a small town. And during the time that I should have done the change of address, I had sold a house, moved into a rental house with my family, my wife and 3 kids, while I purchased some property and was building a house, living in a trailer out on the property on the nights and weekends, as well as running the business. I also own a wildland firefighting business. I have income properties that we build and develop. So just very, very busy, and I know that's not an excuse. So I'm just hoping that with the proof that my continuing ed was completed and the proof of a check being sent to our bank statements and records, that this, falls on sympathetic ears and hands. And yeah, I guess that's my case, and I hope to not have to test just for the time constraints, and we are extremely busy this time of year. We have a lot of work lined up for several months, and we're working 60 hours a week easily, if not longer, and it's just going to be a huge detriment to me and my company if I'm not able to work and retest and find somewhere to retest and go through that whole process. So thank you for your time, and I'm open to any questions if you guys have any.
Thank you. So this is your supervisor's license that lapsed?
This is my journeyman's license.
Journeyman's license.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I read by the letter it's after a 1-year grace period that you discovered that it had lapsed.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. We like I said, I hardly ever have my license out of my wallet, unfortunately, and we just happen to pull them out to compare ridiculous pictures on our licenses, and in a giant panic, I looked at my date and went, "Holy cow, what is going on?" So instantly went back through all my records and started digging into it, trying to figure out what happened.
So
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, Program Chief Anderson is available to answer anybody's questions about the process on this. One question I had for you, Keith, is how is the state making tests available to people in these wondrous times?
It's more Roseanne's area in the licensing, but what I know is, they're still doing testing. It's limited, but they're still providing testing throughout the state, at the different colleges and testing areas that we have. So it's not like you'd have to drive to Salem to do that.
Okay, thanks. Roseanne, do you have anything to add to that?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Roseanne Nelson, licensing manager for the division. All of the community colleges that we contract with are up and running except one, and that's in the Portland area. So should Mr. Leonard have to take his exam again, he shouldn't have any problems getting into any of those places to do that.
Okay, thanks for that information.
Madam Chair, do
Yes.
you have a supervisor that signs for your permits?
Say that again.
Do you have a supervisor that signs for your permits?
Yes, I do. The one that currently signs, we have actually two on our payroll. One is currently signing.
And
the full-time employees, excuse me.
Good, Chair.
I was going to give Tom an opportunity to get a follow-up question, but I think there's something going on.
Okay.
Where the wonderful world of virtual meetings, and this is kind of the way it goes. Tom, is that your phone ringing?
yes, it is.
Okay. It's okay. Did you have a follow-up on that?
Just that I know that we've turned this down in the past, and it would be a good opportunity for you to get your supervisor's license. You obviously are qualified, so I would suggest that, and I'll make a motion that we turn down the request.
So, Tyler, is that a sufficient motion language?
Madam Chair, Tyler Glaze, Policy Analyst for the Division. I believe that would be, I think Brandy Smith also wanted to say something.
Yes. So Scott, I really feel for you on that. I've had that happen to personal friends of mine. Unfortunately, we couldn't start making exceptions for that. You know, you are in a little bit better position in that you do have a signing supervisor. Your business is not going to, unless there's something I'm not understanding. This shouldn't affect your business whatsoever. It's going to affect you doing electrical work personally. So this is one of those things where every time somebody comes on here with one of these, I pull out my own license in a panic because I could see it happening very easily. But it just, it's one of those things where if we made one exception, it would open up a lot of problems because we've never made an exception in the past.
Yeah, I guess my only hope was the proof that I did my continuing ed and that the check was sent, but I understand what you're saying. So I was hoping under the understanding that, you know, I'd taken care of the continuing ed, that it was obviously not something I'd forgotten about. I just hadn't checked my license, but you know, we lose mail all the time out at our shop. It's extremely windy zone, and we have rural mail carriers. And I know it's not an excuse, but yeah, I was under the understanding it was completely taken care of. I didn't, you know, totally just ignore it.
Okay, so we have a motion right now. I don't believe we require a second. Is that true, Tyler?
We do not, Your
Yeah. So Debbie, can you take a roll call vote on that motion? Which?
Yes, ma'am. BJ Barlow?
Aye.
Amy Byer?
Aye.
Randy Carmody?
Aye.
John Flagel?
Aye.
Scott Hall?
Aye.
Robert McNeil?
Aye.
Vernon Pomerose?
Aye.
Ryan Richards?
Aye.
Randy Smith?
Aye.
Vice Chair Thomas Kyle?
Aye.
Madam Chair Heather Miller?
Aye.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Debbie. Thanks for your time, Mr. Leonard, and good luck.
Okay, thank you.
Agenda
Madam Chair, before we move off of
Yeah.
licensing, I had a call and an email from a Gary Moore had sent in $100 for reciprocity in November and hadn't heard anything back. At least he had a call and said he was turned down, or he called and found out. I just wondered if we could talk about the correspondence method for these.
I don't know. I'm not sure if it's appropriate for this time. I do know that Mr. Moore had left me a message as well. I have not talked to him, but I know that he tried to get on the agenda today, but his submission was too late. And if he wants to be on the agenda, I think he could get in for next meeting. Oh, I see Alana's camera just popped on because she's ready to answer questions, right?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Madam Chair. Alana Cox for the division. We have heard from this gentleman, and we're doing our best. Our licensing staff is working really hard through the challenges of COVID, and I'm not going to make any excuses. It's taken too long for him to get his response, and we're working on that. We've been in communication with him. He knows where things stand, but it shouldn't have taken that long to get him a denial back. It's an issue of reciprocity and where he tested, and So I'll just acknowledge, we're trying to do better and be customer focused on these things, but it's tough. We're short staffed and we're not in the office all the time. So we're doing our best, but we're certainly aware of the situation and in communication with them.
Okay, thank you for that response.
Thanks, Alana. Okay, agenda item 7C, back to policy analyst Tyler Glaze.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Again, Tyler Glaze, policy analyst for the division. For this round of continuing education, we received 40 applications from 9 organizations. The committee recommended 24 courses for approval. 12 instructors were recommended for approval as well, and 4 instructors were recommended for denial. The full matrix is just below that agenda item, so if you have any questions, I will do my best to answer them. Otherwise, this will require a motion.
Any questions from Mr. Glaze?
I would like to make a motion to approve the committee's recommendations for approval or denial of the courses and instructor.
All right, Debbie, can you take a roll call vote?
Yes, ma'am. BJ Barlow?
Aye.
Amy Byer?
Aye.
Amy? Randy
Aye.
Carmody?
Aye.
John Swagel?
Aye.
Scott Hall?
Aye.
Robert McNeil?
Aye.
Vernon Plumrose?
Aye.
Ryan Richards?
Aye.
Randy Smith?
Aye.
Vice Chair Thomas Kyle?
Aye.
Madam Chair Heather Miller?
Aye.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimous.
Thank you. We have no announcements, and there being no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 10:27.